Hey everybody, this is data analytics. So what we're covering is going to be a fundamental overview of big data, how data analytics is used, and then we will look at a practical application side and how a lot of this is used in digital advertising and everywhere else. So this is an overview. Um, what we do is really just math. Everything turns into numbers. You can kind of look at any event, any series of actions, identify patterns, and just use this sort of logic-based system to optimize, to understand, to improve business performance. And so with technology, what we're able to do is just a lot more than in this past few decades in marketing. It's not so much a simple notepad exercise where you're just throwing out statistics. You can compute a lot more. You can do a lot more with the data that's available. And the key here is that there's just a ton of data available, which is great, and that lets us do a lot. But ultimately, it's just numbers. And what this comes down to is communicating a concept, understanding an idea, and taking an action from it. All of this big data stuff and everything that has been just hyped up for years and years now, it ends up being useless in a couple of ways. And so very commonly you get these great insights from very compelling numbers, and either you just don't do anything because you don't know what to do, or you don't have all of your you don't understand what your options are, or just that idea doesn't come across to whoever makes the decision. It's just not communicated efficiently, or just done very poorly. You have to be persuasive, and do your own storytelling in a way with data. It's there's just so much information and so much to understand from numbers that you're not going to create that understanding from throwing out those numbers. It's just there's just a lot of too much information. There's too much to digest. The other person is not going to get all the stuff in your brain from just a few words. You need to tell a story and articulate and give examples, and create the understanding for that person on why, when, where, how. um, Customer engagement, customer data especially, has a huge opportunity to visualize and just make all those numbers colorful. There's a lot more impact, and a lot more happens when use your same creative energy that you do in marketing with telling data, to sharing data and information to another person. So communication is critical here. What um, what data does very well is finding patterns. Just something that happens uh, every so often, that can be used to inform a specific decision. As an example, understanding what you're doing in business, understanding what you're doing in marketing, requires data. It's very fundamental to anything. I mean, um, if you're running and you're in a marathon, you need to know how far you ran. You need to know how fast you were running. If you're going to try to improve your performance and train and measure yourself, I mean, certainly you can just go there and show up and do it. But and maybe in that a marathon might not be the best example. Like, it's not nothing like running a business, but certainly when you kind of look at a timer and a stopwatch and see that, oh, well, I ran 50% faster this time and I ran this far, that adds a world of understanding to, your own efforts. And yeah, you can go in blind and maybe have some sort of success, but in general, knowing more stuff is helpful. So unless you just don't want to know anything, I guess, yeah, I mean, you're kind of on your own there. Data is information, that helps you understand, unlock what is happening, and helps you make a better decision. Comparing data, this versus that, like these are the fundamental building blocks of data analytics. Um, Comparison, finding patterns, measuring, understanding, and making decisions. There's four core techniques in data analytics that you're going to be using in any sort of scenario. So descriptive analytics, so website analytics, for example, what happened on my website last week? How many people visited? What pages did they go to? So this is descriptive analytics. This can also extract patterns. These people only visited this page on Saturday. People only want barbecue content on my cooking website on weekends. And from there, when you kind of take these numbers and kind of lay out what's happening and find these patterns, you can kind of start to understand what's causing that. What can I do to add more, barbecue content on my website for whatever purpose you have a cooking website. This is also diagnostic analytics. So why did this happen? Why did these people? What triggered them coming to my website? And so that could be just looked for barbecue content on Google Analytics and ended up on my website. Uh, and so predictive analytics, this is people, this is what people will do in the future. So you now know that, people have been visiting your website for barbecue content on Saturdays for whatever strange reason. And so, you can now predict that, because this has happened every Saturday for the past month, well, it's probably going to happen this next Saturday. So why don't I make a special page on my website with something for these people because they will show up again and want barbecue content? Why don't I make a barbecue video for them about hosting a weekend barbecue because they're actually visiting on Saturday and that's a weekend? And that would be prescriptive analytics. So that's creating these recommendations and something that you're testing and prescribing based on data. Um, so different types of data. This is pretty like abstract. There's two types of data that you are going to look at. Quantitative data. So this number is 1,000 people visited my website. Qualitative data. So this is a data that is not easily measured. So for example, comments and what people say, how people talk, sentiment, that is qualitative data. All data is also falls into these two categories: structured data or unstructured data. So data that is unstructured, this is just raw information. It's just something that is not easily pulled in anywhere. You're not going to be able to import it and just start calculating stuff. Whereas structured data, yes, this is like a spreadsheet. This is just a bunch of numbers that are already organized and collated that you can start crunching numbers with. So in this high level, like when you get into the nitty gritty, like you're going to be working with tools that have a lot of stuff that's already built out. And you're not going to be clicking on, well, I need to sort unstructured data, I need to sort structured data. A lot of that stuff is, you need to know what that is, but you're not going to jump into Google Analytics and click on like, okay, I'm going to go to my structured data. Well, let me unstructure it. Like, no, that's not how it works. Everything is really, really well built out in data analytics. And these tools are very powerful and they are made to be easy for people to use and easy for people to understand. So Google Analytics is probably the most common analytics tool you're going to encounter on the web. This is used to understand traffic, conversion, what people do on a website. Learn this tool, know how to use it. Google Looker. So if you work with a lot of web analytics data, a lot of like marketing data, this is a good tool to know. It used to be called Google Data Studio. Now it's Google Looker. So this collects data. It lets you pull in information that is just beyond the data sources that are available in Google Analytics. So you can, like pull in social media data, for example, like with some, customization. And it lets you build dashboards, for the most part and just visualizations of data. Adobe Analytics is less common tool. I used Adobe Analytics when I was working with Merrill and Saucony and Wolverine Worldwide. It's probably a tool you will encounter with bigger brands. And if you jump into an internship with like a large e-commerce company, there's a good chance you might end up using Adobe Analytics, and there is depth there. This is a tool that's built for just a lot of data, and it goes a step beyond Google Analytics in kind of the features and the way that it's built out. All these tools are built for different audiences and purposes. Google Analytics is kind of the all-purpose, good for everybody tool. Google Looker, similarly, but for visualization dashboards. Adobe Analytics, step beyond Google Analytics with customization and more enterprise stuff. On HubSpot, this is just a different type of analytic tool, and this is a social media marketing tool, and all of these social media tools have analytics within them, and HubSpot is a great example of the sort of data and the sort of interface you're going to be using. It also pulls in a lot of kind of CRM data, and so excuse me, I said a social media tool, so I meant CRM. Uh, it certainly has social media in it, and social media is an analytics tool, but CRMs, customer data, that is probably the other very common format that you're going to find data in kind of a marketing environment. Every CRM is different, every interface is different, but ultimately they're all using the same actions, the same behaviors, and mostly the same terminology. Um, so when we break down the data analytics process, this is an abstract way to look at this. You're not actually going to be going in and kind of doing this in like Google Analytics. So goals, everything has goals. When you're looking at a bunch of numbers, what do you want to understand? What's the decision that you're going to make from this data? And everybody, loves looking at numbers, and very often we do that and we don't do anything with that number. And so what do you like? What are the choices that can be made after you've looked at this information? That's really the frame of mind you need to be in, and that's why you set a goal when you start analysis. Data collection. You need data. That's sometimes it's automatic. Sometimes you need to set up a project like a survey to collect the data. Data cleaning. So if you're doing data cleaning, you're in a data role, or otherwise this is done automatically. This is also, you might need to do this if you're creating a custom report and just pulling in data from all over the place, then yeah, you would be doing some level of data cleaning. Data extrapolation. So, and sometimes this is something you do everywhere, but more commonly you're going to be using these advanced analytics techniques if you are in like a data role. Data modeling. So in analytics models like regression analysis, cluster analysis, CLV models, there is some a minor element of this is available in tools like Google Analytics. You're not going to find like regression analysis like a quick pop up, but certainly you can do that, but kind of the heavy duty analytics capabilities are going to be more in roles where this is really based around data science and less as kind of a supplement to your everyday role, like how many people use Google Analytics. And so data interpretation, that's just, spinning through all of this from one, setting your goals, to six, actually taking the information and making that decision, translate what you found on your website, your campaign or whatever into, the next set of steps that you're going to take from this. So let's take this kind of process and again jump back into something practical. As there's a world of difference from looking at this abstractly and actually applying this in real life. Very commonly defining audiences. This is the critical component of everything and anything in marketing. Who are you targeting? What are you doing that is going to be relevant to a specific group of people? Demographic data, purchase history, online behaviors, all of these can be pulled in and used to identify an audience. Any place that's collecting data, you can look at that data and use it to define a group of people. Optimizing campaigns. So any business is going to have a limited number of resources for their marketing efforts. When those resources are deployed and you see what they're doing, you are able to optimize, to make changes, to better deploy those resources so that you have a better return, more efficiency, more impact the next time around. This is just a fundamental everyday job of a marketer. Continue doing a better job, continue improving what that business does with their marketing. And predicting behavior. So predicting behavior is easier said than done. Historical data predicts future data. There's always kind of these uncertain, untested variables, but as much as you can know and predict about the future, that's going to help you make decisions and help you move forward with your plans with as less uncertainty as possible. We mentioned heavy duty analytics. So what this means is, again, this isn't really like an industry term. I'm just using this as broadly as a word. You're going to find different techniques being used in different sorts of companies, different sorts of environments. And so with this sort of heavy duty analytics, like regression analysis, this is done at larger brands, larger companies that have resources that can hire a dedicated team to perform these type of projects. Less so at like a small company like a bakery that's just wants to know how many people visited their website and how many people called them from some ads that they put up. When you do get into that sort of advanced analytics zone, there's a lot of really interesting stuff that can find amazing patterns, amazing insights just based on data. So regression analysis, just how different variables influence each other. So Monte Carlo simulation is and quantifying uncertainty and just trying to predict what's going to happen. Factor analysis, cluster analysis. Again, you're working with these different variables and just trying to pull out insights from these patterns to give you an understanding of all this data. And sentiment analysis is very interesting. What is a person feeling, and what is their mindset? Are they happy? Are they sad? Are they angry? When they're making these comments, and this sort of analytics requires effort and work, and this is really more in data science and data analytics as kind of a specialized field than something that kind of lives within any sort of marketing you do. Absolutely, this is valuable and needs to be done. Is this going to be the first thing you do? No. It should always be on your priorities, not necessarily. The tools that you're going to be working with and how easy it is for you to perform these different types of evaluations, that's going to determine whether or not you're going to jump into this sort of analytics. Marketing analytics, and that is where your head is really is going to be at for any sort of project that you're working on, like social media or digital ads. Very frequently digital ads, because that's so grounded in data. You need to understand the concept of data ownership and where data comes from. Really important. So first party data, what that means is uh, the information that a company collects directly from you, what you bought, what you did on their properties. So this is website interactions, purchase history, social media engagement. If you bought a scarf on Nike's website, that is part of your first party data. The second party data is less common, so it's a brand that works together. Nike and like some other hat company collaborated on a product line, there would be second party data that would be shared between those two brands. And then third party data. So third party data is all the stuff that makes you uncomfortable, that's getting pulled in on your phone. That's kind of weird when you start getting really specific ads that are kind of creepy. Like that's all third party data. These, that is kind of layered onto your information in this very complicated digital ecosystem. So customer data, I mean, this is like the lifeblood of the billions of dollars that goes on Facebook and all these other platforms. The data that comes from interactions, online behaviors, transactions, these are all kind of gathered and collated, and companies like Axiom and Experian, like they will pull out this information, and these data brokers will get as much as they can about a one unique identity, and just try to build that into a concrete profile of an individual person that can be grouped with other individual people. This really is heavily dependent on the companies within that process, but what they're trying to do is just get as accurate of a profile as they can about an individual identity, uh, organize those identities into different groups so that they can be targeted. Like people who, like the Cambridge Analytica, scandal, if you remember that. And voter data is a big part of this. Now you definitely get ads for all sorts of wacky stuff, but when you can pinpoint someone on an issue from a zip code, from sort of any sort of behavior that makes that person more relevant to a particular political issue, you get a very salient ad. You can get an ad that will change someone's vote, and so this ends up being really important. And there's just really a lot of action behind the scenes on this ad ecosystem in this upcoming election cycle. It's really interesting, but truthfully, the as precise as it is, it's it's funny enough, we're in such a polarized environment where really the fighting that happens for all of these ads is just with a small group of people that are already like hopping in between candidates or issues. So in some cases you get very precise targeting, but probably the ad creative and the message has more impact than the targeting in this case. So here's the process for targeted advertising. Similar to what we discussed before: collection, get the data wherever it comes from. Only limitation is the regulations, legalities, and however much money you have to finance that. And the merging of data sources. So taking everything, putting it on top of an advertising ID for that person, taking third-party data, just adding behaviors. What else does that person like? Oh, they like sushi. Do they like bags? Do they like sports? Do they like technology? From that, you create behavioral profiles, spending patterns, potential future behaviors. Well, this person might be interested in, insurance. And from that you can segment audiences. You can put people in a category of luxury shoppers, someone who's willing to spend, someone who is high income and kind of fits the category of a person who might buy Gucci product. And so then when Gucci, runs ads, they select that as targeting criteria. Um, they target luxury shoppers. They're much more likely to get a sale from somebody in this category than just like a general audience where most people are like, oh man, I can't afford this. I don't even want this. This is why you segment and target ads to specific audiences. The customer journey mapping is an important concept you should also understand. So this is kind of looking at the different places that a customer visits, the different data points that you can track from a customer from all these interactions that they're having with your brand or company over a period of time. So someone sees your ad on a Monday. Okay, what happened on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, up until Friday when they made a purchase? There's a customer journey in those kind of 5 days, and based on the tools, platforms, and technologies, you can kind of it's as a concept, map that out. You can track what they did and understand kind of their thought process and their behavior in ways where you can kind of optimize that and put the right message in front of them at the right time. Um, so learning data analytics, what you need to do is understand the tools and software more than anything. These, we've talked about how this works in a like 30,000 foot view sort of way, but everything is going to be really heavily dependent on the actual tools. If you're using Google Analytics, it's a very specific platform, a very specific set of terminology and certain uses that are going to be easy for you to do. You always consider like how easy it is for you to collect certain data in order to make a useful decision. This will depend on your understanding of the platform, actual data that comes in. When you understand the data, when you know what it means, you will have a better frame of reference to make decisions on even how much time you spend in analysis and what the right actions are for your decisions. So the devil's in the detail in this case, and really all this can mean is learn the platforms and understand and immerse yourself in the data and the variables and what that means. The more you do this, the better you're going to be able to conduct analysis and the better your decisions will be. Website analytics, last thing here is, so you should learn and understand traffic on a website, behavior. This is the simplest, easiest thing to do, and it'll serve you well in any sort of role. Get certified for Google Analytics, individual qualifications, great certificates to have on your resume, very easy. And it also kind of reflects the way that analytics is handled in many other places. This is the gold standard. Social analytics as well, Meta Blueprint, TikTok Academy, LinkedIn Marketing Labs. All of these are going to be similar behaviors, same, basically the same behaviors in different contexts with, sometimes different terminology, but very similar terminology. Learn the platforms, start with Meta Blueprint, work your way down to what makes sense for you and your brand. Visualization is critical here. How you display data and the storytelling. This is going to come from your understanding and what you're communicating and what that is going to mean for the other person. There's a whole field within this visualization that makes it easier for someone to understand and make choices based on data. The last thing is going to be just the benchmarking and experience. When you have done this for a long time, you are going to get a sense, your own intuition on what is a good metric, what is performing well, what got lift, what got a lot of comments. Like any sort of learning experience adds up, especially for data analytics. When you spend a lot of time in here, you get a very good sense of what a number feels like, what a number means, and that lets you operate very very nimbly in doing marketing and making better choices. So just keep going. It's all in experience. Thanks, guys. That's it.